Hi, I'm Danny Gasparini, and welcome to this segment of Penn Voice. I'm joined today by Fire Chief Stan Maupin, Fire Chief for the City of Redwood City. Stan, welcome.
Danny, thank you for having me.
So before we jump into our normal discussion about it's holiday time and how do we ensure that our homes are safe during all this holiday decoration time, tell us a little bit about Redwood City Fire Department and now kind of this consolidation of some types of administrative services that are happening in the fire protection agencies.
So we're the Redwood City Fire Department, but we serve the communities of Redwood City and San Carlos now. We've been doing this for a few years now. It was a result of some changes that were made back in 2013 by the City of San Carlos. And they were looking for a more cost-effective way to provide fire protection for the community. And so they went out and they found us as a partner, and it's been a great relationship ever since.
And, I bet if we, fast forward 5 years, residents in both communities might not even realize that there is a jurisdictional boundary between our cities with fire protection from Redwood City and San Carlos. So now I think even though as the economy gets better and maybe the financial burdens change for cities, I don't think anything would ever change. I think these types of consolidations are great things for city budgets.
Absolutely. There's a lot of examples in the county right now of other fire departments trying to find different ways to reduce costs and consolidate services, but it's not just about the cost savings. Right. It's about more efficient services. When you have a larger department, you have more resources to draw from. Creates a bigger pool of employees to help the department run more efficiently. And to your point, I think the residents of San Carlos, we kept the fire engines that say San Carlos on them. Redwood City is the same way. And so the communities have their identities, but the employees and the savings are really brought forward through the consolidated effort.
So I think people up and down the Bay Area and throughout the state are going to see more and more of these kinds of it. Sometimes they're administrative consolidations, back office, if you will, and sometimes they are of the jurisdictions themselves. But anyway, that's for another day and another conversation.
Sure.
We are in the height of holiday season.
Yes, we are.
And we want to make sure that our homes stay safe for all of its occupants and residents, as well as our commercial property. So what can we do?
So thank you again I know we did this last year, and I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to reach out and talk about holiday safety. And while we don't necessarily look for any kind of spikes in responses anytime throughout the year, the holidays are obviously a little more risky for the public. Many of the things that we see going on around this time of the year center around things pertaining to candles, Christmas trees, and kitchen safety. Candles, of course, are always a big risk any time of the year, but the advent of the flameless candle and their popularity increasing and their technology becoming more attractive, they are really an answer to the risk of having a lit candle in your home. And we've talked to people about if they choose to have a lit candle in their home, some things they need to really think about are things like ensuring the candles are out when they're not in the room tending to them, having them in a holder that's stable, that's not easily knocked over by children or animals,
right.
Or even just any kind of an accident. And just, again, ensuring that they're not close to any kind of a flammable material.
So our old candelabras that we have, that we pull out once a year and polish and then stick the very long 12-inch taper on it, you shudder when you walk into a room and see one of those on the table.
Yes, I do. I keep a very close eye when I'm in a room where somebody's had something like that placed. But yeah, and your point is exactly right on. It's the care and the watchfulness of a candle that's lit in a home is most important.
Yeah. And we always talk about the Christmas trees, the live Christmas trees, which are still very, very, very popular in homes and sure. Still a tradition. And just ensuring that as the days go on, that they're still remained watered and fresh, and you're watching your lights.
Yes, absolutely. And I think some of the first things people should do if they choose to have a live Christmas tree is they need to check the needles on the tree and make sure that they're not falling off already, especially when they purchase them. If the needles are falling off, the tree is already becoming too dried out and is an increased risk in the home. Once they do get the tree home, though, is if they cut off about 1.5 inches to 2 inches off the bottom to give a fresh part of the trunk of the tree ready to go, and make sure it's placed in water right away. And then they should check the water every day at minimum, because they'd be surprised at how fast the water either evaporates or is soaked up by the tree, and how quickly a tree can become dried out. There are several demonstrations of how fast a Christmas tree can ignite in a home and really cause a serious fire danger.
I was surprised even as I was decorating our tree, which is a fake tree, but the amount of heat those lights put off. I can imagine that kept on for several hours. I mean, there's a good way of ignition there if
Sure.
the tree is dry.
Absolutely, and it also that heat will also help dry the tree out, not just primarily
Right.
as a source of ignition, but will increase the rate that the tree dries out, and then be more susceptible to some kind of ignition source.
Right.
People still, surprisingly, I think we're getting almost to a very low rate, but people still consider candles on their trees. And of course,
Wow.
we are absolutely against that. The risk is just off the charts on that one.
I can absolutely see that. Now, you mentioned kitchen fires in the beginning. So is it just because our cooking seems to go up and our drinking seems to go up during the holiday season? I mean, is it the combination? But how does that happen?
Well, kitchen fires are still one of the top causes of all residential fires across the country, and that's all throughout the year.
Okay.
But Christmas time, and there's no data to confirm it, but certainly people do increase their cooking activities during this time of the year, and a lot of what happens is the kitchen fires are caused by either inattentiveness, they've left something boiling or simmering while they leave the room, and we encourage somebody to set a timer before they leave the room to kind of remind them to go back and check, because many times you come back and you find that you've forgotten about something on a simmer. If they do have a fire in a pan or a pot on top of the stove, we encourage the occupants to have the lid that fits on that pot or pan close by, and they can very easily just slide the lid onto that pot or pan and put the fire out very quickly. And a fire in an oven is not uncommon also this time of the year, with a lot of cooking going on that way. And people should always leave their oven closed if there's a fire in their oven. And in the case with any fire, no matter how small, they should definitely call 911 and have the fire department come out and check.
And obviously the old fire extinguishers that sit underneath our kitchen cupboards, underneath the sink, make sure that those are always not expired and ready to go. You had mentioned ovens, and this has actually happened to me. You leave the oven closed, correct? Won't it at some point in time just put itself out versus trying to open it?
Absolutely. So if you've ever opened an oven when you're cooking at any temperature, if you're not paying attention, you get that little blast of heat that comes out when it's operating normally.
Right.
And you can imagine what would happen if you opened it if there's a fire in the oven at that point. So yeah, leaving the oven closed helps reduce the oxygen that's available to the fire, and will eventually put it out that way. But again, anytime there's any type of fire, we always say, make sure you call 911 and have us come out. People would be really surprised if they understood that even a small fire, say on the stovetop, they may not even realize that it has extended into the flue in the duct system over their stovetop and is burning unchecked and without their knowledge. And we would need to come out for a much larger fire then.
So we're going to move just really briefly into Sonoma and Napa fires. I mean, because that I think is still on everyone's minds.
Sure.
With regard to. Now, again, to our knowledge, it wasn't a candle or a Christmas tree, but we do know that trees went down in this tremendous amount of wind, and we do know that the years prior we had droughts. So what can we do in our own backyards and front yards to look at our tree health, to understand that they are clear of power lines, or that we understand that, and we're headed for a rainy season, that our trees are safe and away from power lines?
Sure. Anytime you look at a tree that you're not sure if it's too close to a power line or not, definitely call PG&E. And they have a program that will come out and take care of that for you and keep the trees trimmed back. As far as the health of the tree, there's really no way to understand how, by looking at it by a citizen, whether a tree is healthy or not. Some people may know that, but we highly advise call a professional arborist to come out and check your trees every once in a while and make sure that they are in a state that's not going to be susceptible to high winds or something like that.
So we just have about 30 seconds left. So all indoor safety with regard to candles, trees, outdoor safety, understand your surroundings with regard to trees and power lines. What are the last minute kinds of protections that you want for us, even for multifamily homes?
Sure, and I think that the biggest thing to do is remember that your actions do affect others, not just your own residents. They have a big impact on other people around you. So the safety of not just yourself, but other people around you is paramount on your being vigilant with your fire safety. The items that we talked about are certainly actions that they can take. Be aware of as we start heaters in this time of year, furnaces that have been dormant for the summer months may also have a problem. So just be aware of that, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, thanks so much, Stan. I'm sure our communities will be safer and healthier this Christmas season, this holiday season. Thanks for joining us and giving us great tips.
Great.
And we'll see all of you next time on Penn Voice.